Welcome to an episode. Welcome to Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs. Now, we are entering the home stretch of this election season, and that means across the province, candidates have stepped forward or are stepping forward with visions for stronger communities, smarter growth, and more responsive local governments. And today, we are joined by one man who wants to lead Alberta's capital city. Joining us for today's episode is Tim Cartmell, candidate for mayor of the City of Edmonton, running under the banner, the Better Edmonton Party. Tim was first elected to Edmonton City Council in 2017, bringing his engineering expertise, small business experience, and decades of community service to City Hall. A lifelong Edmontonian, he has been a strong advocate for infrastructure improvements across the city. Tim has also been a longtime volunteer in local sports, community leagues, and professional engineering committees. Committed to building sustainable, livable neighborhoods, this is our interview with Tim Cartmell, mayor candidate for the City of Edmonton. Tim, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting about your bid to become Edmonton's next mayor. Want to start with a very simple question, though, one that gets to know who you are. Where's your sense of duty to serve your community come from?
I'd say it probably comes mostly from my parents and my extended family. My dad was a junior high teacher, and my mom was a nurse and then a librarian. And so, that civic service thing, I think, comes from that. Uh, I often remember my parents saying to me that, you're very fortunate, we're very fortunate, and you need to give back and think about giving back. So I think that's part of it. Part of it too came from when I graduated from engineering school in '88. There wasn't a lot of jobs, and so networking became a thing. And for an introverted left-handed engineer, it became work. And so, but it became work I really enjoyed. Getting to know the community, getting to know people in first of all in the engineering community, and then in the broader community, having kids and building playgrounds and getting to know the neighbors. It's often hard work, but it's very fulfilling work, and so yeah, I think it comes in part from that
Can I ask a very
underpinning. But
really weird question?
yeah,
Why do all the introverts that I know run for mayor? What is it about being an introvert that makes you want to be a
well, I
mayor?
mean, you know what so I don't know, I don't know if it's being an introvert. I don't know, but I think there's a bit of a Venn diagram, in being um, somebody that not has something to prove necessarily. I again, self-diagnosis, I guess, but I deal with a lot of imposter syndrome, and a bit of a feeling of not measuring up, a bit of a feeling of having to prove yourself, a bit of and part of that was the way I was raised, I would say, sort of that tough love generation kind of a thing. A father figure that was pretty distant and detached, and don't emote and that kind of a thing. And so I think when you find yourself in a bit of a place of needing to prove that you actually are capable, needing to prove that you actually know how to do something, that you find yourself in these places of duty. And so I don't know if it's the introverted part of that, or if it's the
Is that the reason to run for mayor?
no. Oh no, I think that's the reason you get into service, and you find yourself in these things. The reason to run for mayor is actually now having been exposed to this particular environment, and feeling like I still have something to contribute to the council table, but wanting to contribute it in a different way. So, I want to be in those conversations about how to build the economy. I want to be in those conversations about how we work with other levels of government to make it better for Edmonton. I want to be in those conversations that lead us to the how we're going to literally build it better. How are we going to operate our physical plant better? How are we going to build out the city, the amenities and the infrastructure that we need in a much more efficient way? And I really see that, uh, and really think that my skill set in terms of being an engineer that's done all kinds of work in infrastructure and project management, and spending others people's money efficiently to build that physical work is what we need right now. And something that we frankly, I feel, have ignored for a number of years. So having been here, having served, having seen the process done, really well and really poorly, seeing what the points of emphasis are, that's a match to my skill set. That's why I'm running for mayor.
Now, I've been following you on social media since the day you announced that you were running for mayor because I'm a municipal nerd and I like to follow the people who are running. Exactly. I'm surprised there's 8 in this province. But I see you out door knocking. I see you out talking to Edmontonians. What are you hearing exactly from Edmontonians about what they want from this next government? And I say government because you are running under a party platform. You are or a slate of candidates. So government is going to be you plus a few of your council colleagues, or all of them council. Yes. So what do they want from their next government?
Well, and the feedback we get is not, well, this is what I want from the mayor, but it's something different that I want. People don't differentiate. This is what I want from the city. I want you to put the dollars into the services I really need. I want to see my dollars at work when I look out my front door. Higher taxes and lower services does not compute anymore. I'm not very happy about that. I want to see a safer city. I want to see a city that looks like it's being managed and under control, as opposed to this seemingly everything is under construction all the time. I want a city that's easier to navigate. I'd really like it if you just stuck to city things. And stop talking about all the other things and stop talking about what I should think and how I should feel and how I should act. You know what? I don't need a parent. What I need is somebody to go and do the things that city does and get out of the way. And so what are the things that cities do? I've talked a lot about it. Fixed infrastructure, plan the city, provide the services people need, fire, police, recreation, open spaces. Those are the things that people are looking for. Cut the grass, shovel the snow, fix the roads, right? It should not feel like a minefield when I'm driving from the, downtown to get to a hockey game, or when I'm trying to get to the symphony. It should not take 45 minutes to get out of the library parkade, the night of the Citadel. Just make it easier for me to live. And then, honestly, if I don't hear from you, that'd be great.
One of the big things that I'm hearing, and maybe it's your hearing as well, is the affordability crisis that is not crippling, but people are struggling right now. And I can imagine you're hearing it at the doorsteps. What's priority number one when it comes to addressing the affordability challenges that the city can control? Because we all, like you said, the province has a role to play, the federal government has a role to play, but the city has their own role to play. How do we address the affordability challenge?
Well, stop being part of the problem, first of all.
Okay.
When taxes go up 10, 15, 20% year over year, right? And I know some of us anyway, celebrate 6% as some sort of a win, but it actually manifests itself after all of the rebalancing between different classes and the property value assessments that the average homeowner is seeing something like 15% and has seen that the last couple of years. Stop the bleeding, frankly. I mean, that's the first piece of affordability. But when you talk about affordability, the best remedy for affordability and in a competitive environment is supply. So if we're talking about housing affordability, well, the fast track to making housing more affordable is to allow for more supply to be built, right? We've got giant open spaces in our city that we could use to address housing affordability. When you're talking about mobility affordability, well, how about a transit system that serves everyone, not just the few people that happen to live along an LRT corridor? I represent entire neighborhoods that have virtually no transit. It's dial-a-bus transit, which is profoundly unreliable. And so therefore you need a car in most of the neighborhoods that I represent. I want to change that. I've been championing a project for 8 years that has bus lanes on it, on the Terwillegar Drive project. But we need buses, and we need a bus service transit plan. So if you can actually provide a reliable bus-based fixed route transit system, so that you can address transportation affordability, and then you provide, a supply of housing that is going to be, provide that housing affordability. Well, those are the first 2 big check marks to anybody that wants to live in a city. And then you layer on top of that, our competitive advantage that you can, often get into a home here that has a little bit of land, which is not the case in the other 4 or 5 giant cities in Canada. There's a real opportunity here if we can turn these things around and exercise that competitive advantage, right?
we seem to be building a lot more LRTs in the city right now, and people are going on the buses. But the common theme that I'm hearing, and again, you probably have heard as well, is I don't feel safe going on the LRT anymore. And you talk about that going hand in hand about what you're hearing. How do we make Edmonton safe again? Because I don't want people to think that Edmonton's not safe, because I've never not felt safe here. It's just there are some people who don't feel comfortable with going on a bus, walking downtown at late at night anymore.
Yeah, there's safety and perception of safety,
Yeah.
right? And often they align. One's a lagging indicator, basically. It lives a little bit in that 10 minutes to make a good impression and 10 years to make to get over a bad one. But I think that there's a few clues to this. One is that when we do our sort of back to school effort on the LRT platforms, and we have more visible presence of peace officers, we find that calls for service go down and actual incidents go down. There is a visible deterrent effect to having people in the space. That doesn't mean, and I hasten to add, that does not mean harassing people that need support, vulnerable people that need some sort of help in their everyday life. But what it does mean is that when you have more people there, they actually get that support. They get that help. And for those that are trying to exploit those vulnerable people that are hanging out in the transit centers, there's a muting of that exploitation. So visibility matters. So how do we make LRT safer? We used to have LRT beat cops. We need LRT beat cops back, right? And that presence would have both of those effects, right? You would have more people that are extensions of the community, bringing the community to people that really need it. And you've got that visible identification that, by the way, if you're a bad person trying to exploit somebody, someone's going to find you out. So best move along. And I think it's a both and solution set.
So if I'm asking this question, I'm assuming someone is probably going to yell at me if I don't ask this question.
Yeah.
They just heard add beat cops. That means a cost to the taxpayers of adding more services.
But it doesn't.
How so?
Well,
Again, just because if I'm asking the question, then someone else.
by all means, ask the questions, right? Sure, someone's asking that. Okay, so, and that's not the only solution. Like, it's add beat cops and add the supports behind the beat cops that help those that really need those supports, right? It's a social service ecosystem, and it has many partners, and those partners have to, work together to achieve this, again, this collective solution set that we're looking for. But, we've got an opportunity to hit the reset button in our relationship with the police service, right? We're going to hire a new chief in the next couple of months. And the candidates that I've talked to that are candidates to be the next chief have said that this is not an expense issue. This is not, we don't need more money that will come with the natural, modest increases if we get our budgets under control that would come with the police budget. It's a deployment issue. So let's go back to deploying cops the way we used to deploy cops. That's one part of it. The other part of it is that in general terms, police officers that are doing traffic, that are doing safety, that are walking beats tend to be in the first 7 years of their service. We have 7 years of people that have been trained coming out of the COVID years to not get out of the car, to not walk the beat, to not be in those public spaces, to be distant from people out of a health and safety concern. Don't gather. Right? We need to untrain that and get back to training people that if you're in your car, that's the wrong place to be, unless you're chasing a speeder on the Henday, right? That out of the car is the place to be. Get your coffee, but walk up and down the street, right? Walk through the LRT stations. When you're in your car and you stop somebody, get out. When you're doing a safety check, don't call it in. Get out, walk over, examine. Be present.
A lot of the police are probably dealing with a lot of mental health and addiction calls right now. Do you see a scenario, or have you heard of any scenario where there could be potentially mental health support worker coming with the cops to those calls? Because EPS probably gets bogged down in a lot of those calls.
We have in Edmonton, we have the cop teams, right? And this is exactly what they do. There is a sworn police officer and another resource that are working in partnership. One of our team members, Caroline Matthews, used to do this very work as a police officer on East Hastings in Vancouver. So she can speak from direct experience about how you make that arrangement better, how it can be more effective, how you can actually build these teams and deliver the services you're wanting to do. So we have lived experience on our team. One of our other candidates, Mike Elliott, is right now serving as a police officer. So he has the Edmonton context. So we know that these are deployment issues, not cost issues. And we know that there's a way to make better, effective use of the dollars that we're putting into the police service. And we have leaders that might be the next chief that actually want to go and do this work. So it all comes together. The ingredient we need is a city council that will actually, tangibly, overtly, out loud support our police service. And for the last 4 years, at least, we have had the opposite. And that has to be a key piece of the change. If we don't change the relationship and the ethic and the attitude of city council towards the police, then all of these other things just will not happen.
You talk about budget, and it is something that Fraser Institute just came out with a report back in June saying municipalities are not spending wisely. They're spending on things that are not in their jurisdiction. They're spending on federal and provincial things, and you've talked about it. Do you believe the city of Edmonton is spending property taxes and the people's taxes properly?
Well, properly is a loaded word.
That's why
Wisely? No. I mean, okay, so, that gets into, well, why not? Well, because I think that we are not anywhere near as efficient as we could be to deliver the services that we're delivering. And I think we are focusing on some services that we ought not, and migrate those dollars to the services that people really want and need. So I don't know if there's a properly or improperly thing, but there's absolutely a need to refine how we budget, how we identify the dollars that are going to be spent, and how we actually deliver the services that people are looking for.
I want to turn to the role of mayor for a few minutes, if you don't mind. I hear from Edmontonians that, it's an election, so that means someone's going to come knock on my door. Yeah. After that, they're not going to talk to me. They're not going to engage with me. How do you plan to engage with Edmontonians to make the tough decisions? Because you're there to represent them, and you're there along with your team to represent the people who have put you there and those who have not voted for you. How do you plan to engage with Edmontonians that's different than the last 4 years?
Well, I think, being real and being direct and being available, no, of course not. Is it easy? Good Lord, no. I mean, I'm doing 1/12 of the city, if you will, and to do that properly means being available. So, I'm going to build on the way that I've always done the work. I spend every Saturday in the local coffee shop meeting people, 1, 2, 3 people at a time, understanding what their concerns are, aggregating those and coming back to city council. I hit every community league meeting that I can. I, do my own town halls and other meetings that I broadcast out of my basement, right, in a very sharing way. So, can you do that as the mayor in a city of 1.2 million people? It's going to be hard to have a cup of coffee with 1.2 million people. But it's being available, being present, and, and speaking directly to people in a transparent, what's the word I'm looking for? Simplified way. I'm not going to speak in vernacular. I'm going to give people straight answers. And if I don't know, I don't know. The other thing we want to do is, again, through our team, speak through our team and be available, So we're not going to build a mayor and minions kind of a thing. If we actually have a team and you speak to our team member, you're speaking to me. You will see this manifested when we get after the election, where it's not just me that is going to be, representing the position of the city of Edmonton. If we're talking about policing, well, we're going to have, 2 former police officers that might be the ones that are the subject matter experts that present us and are therefore available to the community to get that feedback, right? We've got a business owner that is, come out of the tech world and has done very, very well. I was actually just
reading his bio this morning.
Right, yeah. I mean, talk about a guy. So this is somebody that is actually currently working with the board of $4 billion corporation. Well, the city of Edmonton's a $4 billion corporation, and council is the board. So, when you're talking to Daryl about, what does tech and innovation look like, at the city of Edmonton, well, you're not talking to me because I'm not the expert. I'm the expert on the infrastructure of our team. Absolutely. Benisha's a commercial real estate. She's going to tell you about how hard it is to get a permit and what we're going to need to do to fix getting a permit. So we're going to interface. If the question is, how does the mayor interface with 1.2 million people? It's actually literally leveraging those relationships from a team perspective of the 12 councillors that form that council. And again, not all of them are going to be Better Edmonton candidates. Let's be real about this. But that would be the ethic, that we actually operate as a team and that we communicate with the city as a collective, not 13 individuals that don't want to be seen with each other in the, in the local event. 13 people that actually want to be at the cool kids table that are actually working together to represent the city.
Is this that table right here? Because if so,
Right
I'm
now,
happy.
this is the cool kids table.
There's a quote that I often use on the show, and I'm going to nerd out here for a few minutes. I hope that's okay with you. If you're a Star Trek fan, you're going to love this quote. If not, then we have another issue that we have to talk about.
Yeah.
1.2 million Edmontonians.
Yeah.
1.2 million Edmontonians with their own unique individual issues that they believe are the most important issues to them. That pothole in front of John Street on Jasper Avenue that's bothering that car every single day that they drive is that issue for that person. 1.2 million issues, but you're a council that can't look at individual issues all the time. You have to look at the grand picture. Yep. So to quote Spock from Wrath of Khan, the needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few or the one. How do you plan to do that to ensure that everyone feels like they're being served, but do it on a citywide scale?
Tell them how you're making decisions. This comes to me as a counselor all the time, right? And yeah, if there's a pothole on Riverbend Road that 40,000 people are running over, well, that's got to be fixed. But the sidewalk that's cracked in front of 3 people's houses, while it should be fixed, is not the most important thing. So what do? We say to people, thank you for your input. We're going to get it on the list. When the city gets to that neighborhood and they aggregate all of the cracked sidewalks, which might be 2 years from now, then yours will be part of that. But we do not have the capacity to instantly solve your problem all the time. And most of the time, when people know what the process is, when they know how decisions are being made, even if they don't like the outcome, they will respect the process. And they will respect being told what the process is. The needs of the many do outweigh the needs of the few. And so what are the most important things in the next 4 years? Financial responsibility, getting a hold of our capital plan, getting some maintenance renewal dollars from just about anywhere so we can actually take care of the stuff that we already have, partnerships to go and build the things that a thriving and growing city is going to need. Those are the most important things. When we get our finances in order, when we get back where all the gears are meshing, then we can talk about some of the other things we might want to do. But right now, we can't take on any other thing until we get the gears of the mechanism of the City of Edmonton actually all running together again.
The City of Edmonton is in a very unique position. You are the only city in this province that is fully represented by the opposition at the legislature. So that means the next mayor is going to be speaking directly to the Minister of Municipal Affairs, the Minister of Infrastructure, the Premier herself. Some will want someone to stand up and fight for what Edmonton deserves when budgets come around. Can you stand up to Danielle Smith?
Absolutely. But here's the thing. It's how you stand up and how you show up, right? I have prided myself on being able to develop relationships with the decision makers. And the decision makers in 2017, before there even was a UCP, were members of the NDP government. And I was able to build relationships with that government to the point where the initial funding of the projects in the ward that I represent came from the NDP. So it's not a matter of having an affinity with one party or the other. It's having the ability to build relationships with the decision makers. And I've been able to do that my entire life. And I am firmly confident that I'll be able to build those decisions. But I can tell you, standing up for your city does not mean 3 times a day getting in front of the cameras and bleating about how lousy somebody else is at their job. That does nothing for you. And then you wonder when you go knock on the door of the legislature why they don't want to talk to you. There is a certain amount of, this is what I want to do, this is what I represent, and I'm going to go and do that work. And I will tell you how it works out when I have a proper answer for you. Doesn't mean not challenging, but it means challenging respectfully and actually doing the work to try to solve the problem in the first place, not just bleating about it and then walking away.
Last area I want to talk on, because I know you're cautious of time, and I want to make sure I get this in here. Better Edmonton Party. Yeah. What does it mean?
It means that you're going to have the confidence that if you vote for a majority of these team members, that what we're saying is going to happen, what we're saying needs to happen in the City of Edmonton, you actually will have some confidence that it will happen the day after the election. We've met. We know each other. I know how many kids those other people have. We've actually shared it. Do you know that there has not been one single instance where the current council 13 people got together and had lunch or dinner or had a beer? Not one single time.
No.
Can you imagine working in a place for 8 years and coming away with less than two social relationships.
Well, hypothetically, and I'm just going to call a spade here for a second. Under the Municipal Government Act, you can't actually all get together at one time. I'm joking. Yeah.
But I mean, like even to just build some of those social interactions that allows you to deal with people as humans. So what is that? How does that manifest itself? So when I go out and have when 13 of us sit around here and have a beer and say, okay, this infill thing, 8 of us think this, 4 of us think that. What are we going to do here? Well, we talk about infill, right? But if one of us said, geez, you know what, I got a hard stop at 4, and the other 12 said, let's see if we can get this meeting to go to 5 so that the person who has to lead to 4 can't be here when we make the decision. What kind of relationship is that? How is that people working together? But that's what we have at City Hall right now. So what does the Better Edmonton Party say? It says that we are going to be, fiercely independent on the things that we need to discuss at City Council. We're going to be narrowly focused on the things that we actually need to talk about and not talk about fanciful things. There will not be a day where we say, well, we're scheduled till 5. Let's see if we can get this meeting to stretch till 5. That is not going to be our ethic. This is not a mayor of minions. This is not whip votes. You're right. There is no opportunity for caucusing privately or for cooking the decisions before they come. But we have a current council that has agreed to let the mayor cook all the budget decisions before they come to council during the budget deliberation. So what's more transparent, right? We're going to be very transparent. Are we going to work together? You better believe it. Are we going to be respectful of each other? You better believe it. We're going to talk about the things that people want to talk about and nothing more.
Do Edmontonians want this? Do Edmontonians want, because we hear some candidates, and I'm just going to call a spade here, that some candidates saying Edmontonians don't want party politics in their system, and what you're doing is not what Edmontonians want. Would you disagree with that?
No, but I would interpret that. What the people in Edmonton don't want is what they see at the Ledge every day, which is two parties combating, which is frankly what you're seeing a little bit of at City Council already, is the politics of personalities. We don't like that guy, so we're going to make it hard on him, right? Or we don't agree with that guy, so we're going to make it difficult. Instead of the conversation that is about making the best decision for City Council, the way it used to be, right? So, this party effectively disintegrates on election night, because there is no place for power party politics and divisive party politics at City Hall. The rules don't allow it. There's no power imperative. I can't kick somebody out of cabinet. 13 people have a vote, right? I can't stop them from having the influence. The same way that the premier can kick somebody out of the governing party and toss them to the sidelines. It's not the same. What we're offering is a return to collegial, respectful, dispassionate dialogue on the issues, and moving away from personalities and backdoor deals and those kinds of things that frankly we're seeing right now.
We are 2 months away from election day. 74 days. Okay, look at that. The guy who's running knows exactly how long. And that means in 75 days, priority 1 needs to be set. Yeah. What's priority number 1 under a Cartmell mayoralship for the City of Edmonton?
It's probably budget. There's
a
half dozen things that need to be flicked pretty quick. It's moves on the budget that we can do in the remainder of 2025 that sets the tone for 2026. Over the subsequent 250 days, it's a 4-year budget. But first moves our budget. We talk about safety and security. So there's going to be a conversation with the police service and a resetting of relationships and priorities. That would be very quick. And I would say that there's probably a few moves on the infill file that we have to make immediately so that we don't let expectations go unattended to for very much longer. That file needs to be fixed. The longer we wait to fix it, the more uncertainty there is, both with industry and with residents, about what it's going to look like. So let's, get that solved right out of the gate.
Final question. It's my fun question I get to ask, because
It's all fun. These are all fun
it gets me to know if you're actually in the weeds of your campaign or you're leaving it up to your campaign manager. How can people reach out to you? How can people get in hold of you?
Well, if you're looking for me, Tim at timcartmell.ca, www.timcartmell.ca. If you're looking for the party, it's www.votebetteredmonton.ca. And that's the best way to find us,
A
is through the
candidate who
websites.
had to look at his campaign manager to make sure he got the right email address or the website. That's what I like to
It's
see.
well, I mean, the thing about these, finding the right name for the party and all of that is so many of the names have been taken. But it's vote betteredmonton.ca.
So this is my final question for you, and you can look at the camera directly to the people of Edmontonian. Why should people put their trust in the Better Edmonton Party and Tim Cartmell as the next mayor of this great city of Edmonton?
Well, I think we've talked a lot about that just in these questions, but we represent the change that people of the city of Edmonton are really looking for and really want. And because we're bringing a team, we actually have the capacity to give you the confidence that we will deliver the change that you're looking for.
Tim, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Right after the campaign, I'll have to be back on.
Well, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. Either way.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platforms or by visiting us on YouTube at Cross Border Network. Your support means the world to us. So if you can, share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Now, quick editorial note before we wrap up. If you are a candidate running in this upcoming election in the city of Edmonton and you want to be featured on this show, reach out to us directly. We would love to have you on the show and hear your perspective directly. So until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 soon. Till then, everyone.